Welcome back everyone to Formula 1 2020, round 7 of the season. We head to Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps, my favourite venue of the entire calendar. I am so thankful this one has remained on our crazy 2020 season. So far, Mercedes have been the team to beat. Will they reign supreme this weekend in Spa? Rain in the air, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Looks like we could have a few spanners in the works this time out in the Ardennes Forest. News this week, a full calendar has finally been launched, so I can finally put up this graphic with the full calendar of the 2020 season. This weekend marks the next of 3 Grand Prix, the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend. Next weekend, we head to Italy for the Italian Grand Prix before we finally head to our first new venue of the season, Mugello, for the Tuscan Grand Prix. Rush is up next on the 27th of September, and then we've got 4 races in a row, all of which we were not expected to go anywhere near. The German Grand Prix, the Nürburgring returns, the Portuguese Grand Prix for the first time at Portimao, Imola's back, the Turkish Grand Prix is back, 2 races at Bahrain, the Sakir Grand Prix on the 6th of December potentially being run on a different layout, and the season finale, as always, in Abu Dhabi Yas Marina. Last season here in Belgium, it was Charles Leclerc who picked up his first ever Formula 1 victory, a fitting victory after horrific events in Formula 2 and the tragic and horrible death of Antoine Hubert, a incredible talent, a promising talent, and I'm still convinced he would have had that Formula 1 Renault seat instead of Fernando Alonso. He's still missed, and once again this year we'll be racing for Antoine in Spa. Hamilton was P2, Bottas P3, Sebastian Vettel after qualifying second, not on the podium. Apart from Singapore last year, Vettel's win before that was 2 years ago, 2018 Belgium. Since then, just that one win in Singapore. Can he revive his luck in 2020 this time around? And last weekend, the Spanish Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton, pole position, Lewis Hamilton race victory. We're so used to it, but something we're also getting used to in 2020 is a Lewis Hamilton victory, Max Verstappen P2. And fun fact, we've only had one Mercedes 1-2 all year long. Hamilton, Verstappen have been comfortably the best 2, and as such, in the drivers' standings are number 1 and number 2. Bottas with work to do this time round, 6 points off the Red Bull of Verstappen, but comfortably in front of 4th place man Charles Leclerc. But that midfield is so tight. Leclerc in 4th. Lance Stroll, P5 joint with Alex Albon. Norris, Perez close in the hunt as well. Sainz and Ricciardo, your top 10. Just outside that top 10, it's Sebastian Vettel. Goodness me, again 2 years ago he was in that running for the championship. Now finds himself all the way down in P11, 16 points joint with Esteban Ocon. Gasly's not too far behind though, just 2 points behind the Ferrari and the Renault. Hulkenberg, 6 points for him, still hanging on in the top 15. Giovinazzi, Kvyat and Magnussen all on 2 and 1 point apiece. Raikkonen, Latifi, Russell and Grosjean all yet to do so. And your Constructors' Championship, Mercedes have won it. Practically, I mean, it's not happened yet, but almost double Red Bull points. Red Bull comfortably in 2nd place, and then it's that midfield scrap. Racing Point 1 point ahead of McLaren, who are 1 point in front of Ferrari. It's a bit of a gap back to Renault, a little bit further of a gap back to AlphaTauri, 2 for Alfa Romeo, 1 for Haas, Williams on a big fat 0. And your Junior Championship Formula 2, Callum Ilott, the British driver in the Ferrari Academy, leads the way comfortably now over Robert Schwartzman in P2, who's comfortably in front of 3rd place man Christian Lundgaard. It's then Red Bull Junior Yuki Tsunoda, who we spoke about last week in the weekly mailbox. Mick Schumacher rounds out the top 5. And before we jump into our hot lap tyres and the weather this weekend, tyres first, C2s, C3s and C4s. Belgium isn't a circuit particularly hard on the tyres, so it's a little bit softer than the last Grand Prix in Spain, but these are the tyres we used at the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. And we know some of the stories from that particular event. Expect a 1 stop, but if there's rain on the horizon, we may even get a 2. And here is your weather. I've mentioned rain a few times. It's very likely we will see rain. 59%, 55% and 69% on Sunday. It looks like we could have a wet Grand Prix, but so far in 2020, we're so used to there being rain, just not on the circuit. So fingers crossed, please, this time around, we'll have a wet Grand Prix. So lots to look forward to. But if you're not aware of this incredible circuit, if you don't know about Spa, if you don't know what the lap looks like, it's a good job we've got our hot lap for the 2020 Belgian Grand Prix. Welcome everyone to your hot lap for the Formula 1 2020 Belgian Grand Prix, on board with the man himself, Romain Grosjean. 5 years ago, that incredible podium. Can he do the same this season? Making sure, first of all, to nail Leclerc's turn 1 tight on the inside, drifting wide onto that rumble strip on the outside, making sure we get a lovely exit down the hill towards Radion. Eau Rouge left, sweeping right back to the left. Crucial that we're as flat out as possible, especially in qualifying, onto the Kemmel Straight. DRS zone in effect, key for overtaking during the Grand Prix. But as we head down towards turn 5, 6 and 7 complex, making sure we nicely get it tight and tucked in, because all of these corners lead lovely through to turn 7 and 8. Down the hill, our starting descent down towards the Pouhon complex. Through sector 2 though, and through the corner with no name, Alex Albon made this sector his own last season. Plenty of overtakes. Can he do the same this season? But as we head to the bottom of the hill, finally through the incredible long-hander of Pouhon, we saw mistakes from Giovinazzi here at the end of the Grand Prix last season. Closing up now, making sure we're nice and tight on 8 and 9. Making sure we're not going too wide. You can technically get caught out for track limits and these particular parts of the circuit. Ending sector 2 now, and the lovely run towards Blanchimont. Modern Formula 1 cars completely flat out through here. No sign of DRS this season, but it is something that we have seen dabbled and played with in the past. 2 corners to go. The reformed bus stop from several years ago now, nailing the inside of the final corner, and that is your final run, planting the power. And that is your lap of the Formula 1 2020 Belgian Grand Prix. And honestly, you have no idea how many takes that took me this time around. Heading over then to the newsroom, plenty of stories this time around, just a week's gap in between, and yet the stories flooding in. But I've picked out 3 of my favourites, starting off with the Williams deal sold to Dorilton Capital. I'm still really struggling with how we pronounce Dorilton. I will change it every single time. But finally, Williams, who was struggling so bad at the back of the pack for the past couple of years, at the end of May, decided enough was enough. They put the team up for sale, and now Dorilton have come in, an investment company from the US, have bought the team. However, more crucially, are deciding to keep the majority of features the exact same. The team name will remain Williams, the team will remain based in Grove, and everything looks a little bit rosier for the future of that team. Of course, no points for the team so far. Latifi with their best result of the season in P11, but brightness on the horizon for a team that have struggled over the last couple of seasons. The F1 calendar is finally complete. You would have seen it earlier on in our graphic, but yesterday, the announcement, the Turkish Grand Prix will return for the first time since 2011. We will also see, for the first time in Formula 1, 2 Bahrain Grand Prix in the same season, with it likely that there will be a oval layout, or oval-ish layout. Don't worry, it's not IndyCar style, but it looks a bit of fun in that second race in Bahrain. Finishing in Abu Dhabi, 17 races. Hats off to the lads and girls at Formula 1. A great job to get us that huge amount of Grand Prix in 2020. And our final little story this week, Renault. We are getting so used to them protest after each weekend. Well, finally, they decided to back down and will no longer be protesting against the Racing Point. They are happy with the response from the FIA, from Racing Point, but this seems very un-Renault-like, so don't expect this to be the end of that story. Ferrari are now the only team still in pursuit of a turnaround of the verdict of Racing Point's 15-point deduction and €400,000 fine. Ferrari searching for even harsher punishments. but they now find themselves on their own. And that is it this week from the newsroom, so we'll head over to one of my favourite parts of the weekend, prediction time for your 2020 Belgian Grand Prix. And if I haven't mentioned it already, with rain in the air, I think this one could be a little bit spicier than the last couple of Grand Prix we've had in Belgium. Of course, this is the home of Romain Grosjean's final podium in Formula 1 5 years ago last week. And I tell you what, don't worry, I'm not going to do it. I almost did it, put Grosjean on the podium, but maybe Grosjean for points is scary enough. But here are my predictions. I've gone with a Lewis Hamilton pole position, Valtteri Bottas P2, and Sergio Perez P3. I think Racing Point could surprise a lot of people here this weekend. But in the race, I'm expecting thunderstorms, I'm expecting hurricanes ripping through the circuit, explosions. Hamilton will still come out victorious, but it'll be Verstappen finishing second, Lance Stroll with his first podium of the season and first since 2017, Charles Leclerc P4 and Valtteri Bottas P5. And it's time for your predictions. If you want to be featured in tomorrow's video, here is your grid. Put your predictions in the comment section down below, and the 2 most liked featured in the practice report. I want to know from qualifying who's on pole, who's on that front row, and who's the biggest shock. Will it be Grosjean Q3? In the race, who is going to be victorious? Who is sharing that podium? Will it be Grosjean? First retirement, probably Grosjean. Driver of the day, and who will be best of the rest? Before we go, Fantasy League time. I've got to hold my hands up. I slipped back a little bit last weekend. We're down to 321st place, but out of 3,400 of you, not too bad. I still can't see who's leading, but I know they're on about 1,200 points, so I'm not a million miles away. No changes this week, except Perez is technically now back in. I did have Hulkenberg, but of course Perez did race last weekend in Spain. Codes on screen if you've not yet joined. And your schedule for this weekend, screenshot time if you're on mobile devices, or I suppose if you're on a laptop as well. 10 o'clock is the first session of the weekend on Friday, practice 1 for Formula 1, qualifying for F2, 4 o'clock on the evening in Friday. Saturday, qualifying for Formula 1, 1 o'clock, feature race, cannot wait for that one at 3:45, and then on Sunday, the big day, the sprint race in Formula 2, 10 past 10 in the morning and 10 past 2 in the afternoon, your 2020 Belgian Grand Prix. And that is it from me for your preview for the Belgian Grand Prix. I cannot wait for this one. It's my favourite circuit. Seeing some of these cars razzing up Eau Rouge just by themselves is enough to make this weekend special. With a little bit of rain, with Verstappen mounting more and more pressure to Mercedes. Mercedes haven't won here for the last 2 seasons. I've got a good feeling about this weekend. Thank you all very much for watching. If you are new, feel free to subscribe. Red button is down below. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop a like. If you didn't, dislike, and give me a little comment on why, and hopefully we can improve these for the future. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.